The void stretched endlessly, a cold and indifferent ocean of stars, where time was measured not in years but in the slow decay of suns, the drift of galaxies, and the silent collision of planets. Humanity had once called a small, unremarkable planet home, a pale blue orb suspended in the vastness of the Milky Way. It had been the cradle of dreams, of wars, of triumphs and failures alike. It had been the origin of everything that would one day define the human race. And now, after 1,000,000 years, humanity was returning. Admiral Celine Varek stood on the observation deck of the TCS Erebus, the command vessel of the Terran Diaspora Fleet, gazing down at Earth. From orbit, it appeared tranquil, a planet bathed in sunlight, oceans sparkling like diamonds, continents stretching across the globe with quiet majesty. Clouds rolled lazily over the atmosphere, casting shadows that drifted like ghosts across the oceans and forests. A century of space-faring experience and the cumulative knowledge of countless human generations should have brought her comfort. Instead, she felt an unfamiliar chill of unease. The planet was beautiful, yes, but wrong. Not wrong in the way a simple observer might think. Not wrong in its appearance, but wrong in its absence. The life she expected to see, the signs of civilization, the faint electromagnetic signals that had once hinted at thriving cities and teeming populations, none of it existed. Earth was silent, almost mournfully so. It was as if the planet itself had waited, patiently, for a visitor, only to find none worthy of recognition. Around her, the bridge of the Erebus hummed with activity. Crews moved with precise, controlled motions. Their bodies evolved and optimized over countless generations. These humans were descendants of the original Terrans, genetically refined, technologically enhanced, and trained to endure the harshest conditions the universe could offer. They had survived interstellar travel, the collapse of entire colonies, hostile encounters with alien civilizations, and the relentless passage of cosmic time. Humanity had spread like seeds on the wind, and they had thrived where no other species had managed. And yet, here they were, returning to the origin of it all, only to find it empty. "Admiral," Lieutenant Holden's voice broke the silence, calm but tight with disbelief. "The sensor arrays are picking up nothing, no life. No energy signatures, no electromagnetic activity. It's empty." Celine nodded slowly, her eyes locked on the planet below. She had expected change. After 1,000,000 years, no planet could remain untouched. Civilizations would rise and fall. Natural disasters would reshape landscapes, and the slow grind of geological time would erase much of what humanity had left behind. But even knowing this, nothing had prepared her for the utter absence. "Prepare the descent teams," she said quietly, her voice carrying both authority and gravity. "We are going home." Shuttles detached from the Erebus, their engines whispering through the upper atmosphere. They descended like silver arrows, cutting through the clouds with surgical precision. As they neared the surface, the scale of the devastation became undeniable. Cities that had once stretched into the sky, New York, Beijing, Paris, London, were now skeletal remnants. Skyscrapers had collapsed like brittle toys, their steel and concrete frames twisted and fractured. Streets were clogged with debris, overturned vehicles, broken infrastructure, remnants of civilizations erased by the unyielding passage of time. Parks were overgrown with wild vegetation, but even there, no animals stirred, no insects buzzed. Nature itself seemed to mourn the absence of the life it had once supported. "Unbelievable," Holden muttered, scanning the ruins with a handheld device capable of detecting the faintest biological traces. All our records, all our histories gone. It's as if the planet has been scrubbed of every trace of civilization. Celine's jaw tightened. Not just scrubbed, she said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried a weight that resonated across the shuttle cabin. 1,000,000 years is more than enough for time to erase us naturally. But this is more than erosion, more than decay. This is deliberate, or at least the result of forces far beyond our comprehension. As the shuttles touched down, the human teams disembarked, spreading out in methodical formations. They carried scanners, biogenic replicators, preservation equipment, and archives of human history encoded into portable matrices. Their mission was not only to explore, but to understand, to record, and, if possible, to restore. Every step they took echoed across abandoned streets, a silent testament to the persistence of the species that had survived against odds that would have destroyed lesser beings. Celine walked among the ruins, her gaze sweeping over collapsed structures, streets choked with detritus, and skeletal towers reaching toward the sky like the fingers of a dead giant. It was breathtaking, not in beauty, but in scale a reminder of how fragile civilizations were, and yet how resilient humanity had become. "This was once our cradle," she murmured, almost to herself. "Every story, every triumph, every failure, it all started here. And now it is gone." Despite the emptiness, Celine's team began their work. Scanners probed the ruins, detecting faint energy signatures buried beneath layers of rubble. Archaeological drones crawled into collapsed buildings, seeking any remnants of human knowledge. Portable AI units reconstructed fragments of databases, piecing together history from scattered fragments of memory storage. Yet, no matter how advanced the technology, the results were the same. Nothing remained. Even the oceans were silent. Vast and deep, they stretched across the planet without movement. Marine life had vanished, leaving only empty waves and the faint traces of currents long ago disturbed. Forests, deserts, and tundras showed the scars of climate cycles and erosion, but offered no evidence of past life. Earth was a tomb, and humanity had returned, not as guests, but as inheritors of a grave. Celine's heart ached, but she did not falter. Humanity had endured 1,000,000 years of exile, outlasting cosmic catastrophes, alien threats, and the relentless march of time. They had returned to witness the consequences of their absence. Yes, but they had also returned to claim the future. The planet might be empty now, but it would not remain so. "This is not the end," Celine said, speaking to the crew around her. "Earth may be silent, but we are alive. We endure. And from this silence, we will rebuild. We will restore what has been lost. Humanity has always returned when all seemed lost, and we will do so again." Her words carried through the empty streets and abandoned structures, a voice of defiance against the indifferent march of time. Humanity had returned, not to mourn what had been lost, but to ensure that life, knowledge, and the species itself would endure beyond the mistakes of the past. The shuttles lifted off again, carrying data, samples, and seeds intended to preserve life. Celine watched the horizon, where the sun reflected off the oceans like shards of broken glass. The planet was a grave, yes, but humanity was the spark that would rekindle it. As the fleet gathered above Earth, ready to deploy the full capabilities of human ingenuity, Celine spoke again, her voice echoing through the command channels. "We are back. The cradle is empty, but humanity is not. We endured the void, the passage of time, and the silence of the stars. Earth may have forgotten us, but we have not forgotten it. Humanity returns, and we will rise again. Even in the absence of life, even in the silence of 1,000,000 years, the human spirit blazed brightly. The return had begun. The restoration would follow. Humanity had come home. The shuttles had barely touched the fractured surface of Earth when it became painfully clear to Admiral Celine Varek and her teams that they were not dealing with ordinary decay. The planet's surface told a story of abandonment, of millennia, of exposure to the relentless forces of wind, water, and fire. But the deeper they probed, the more they realized that the absence of life was not purely natural. Somewhere beneath the ruined cities and empty oceans lay traces of design structures built not by nature, but by intelligence. Massive subterranean arrays, invisible to orbital scans, stretched for hundreds of kilometers beneath the crust. The initial readings were subtle, almost imperceptible. Faint energy signatures, residual magnetic fields, and sporadic bursts of unknown radiation. Yet even these traces were inconsistent, like a fading heartbeat struggling to survive. Celine's team of scientists and engineers pored over the data, their holo screens and tactile displays alive with complex schematics, the remnants of systems built with sophistication beyond what even the most advanced modern human technology could easily reproduce. "It's defensive," muttered Chief Engineer Tauren, his fingers dancing across the interface as the scanners pieced together a partial map. Whatever this was, it was designed to protect life, possibly all life on this planet. These arrays, they're more than just energy shields or environmental controls. Some of this technology could preserve entire ecosystems for centuries. But it's offline, completely inactive, dead. Celine's eyes narrowed. "So Earth tried to defend itself?" she asked. Her mind raced as she considered the implications. Or someone did this to it. Whatever it was, it succeeded in erasing every trace of life and civilization. The fleet's deep-sea drones descended into the oceans, scanning beneath the placid surface. At first, the waters appeared tranquil, pristine even, yet nothing moved. No schools of fish, no plankton blooms, no creatures of the deep. The ocean floors were littered with skeletal remains of species once abundant, fossilized in ways that suggested a sudden and catastrophic collapse. Volcanic vents and hydrothermal fissures, usually teeming with microbial life, were barren. The AI analytics suggested that the biosphere had collapsed long ago, simultaneously and completely, a planetary extinction event on a scale difficult to fathom. On land, the evidence was no less staggering. Forests had regrown over ruins, but the regrowth was uniform, almost artificial in its regularity. Advanced scanning revealed remnants of biological engineering, soils modified to accelerate recovery, seeds that had been genetically programmed to adapt to changing conditions. Someone or something had tried to preserve the planet's ecosystems, but the effort had failed catastrophically. Nature, left to its own devices, had consumed what little remained. "The timeline fits," noted Dr. Ilana Soren. "The data from the planetary archives, those fragments that survived in deep subsurface vaults, suggests that Earth's civilizations collapsed roughly 1,000,000 years ago, exactly when humans left. But what's strange is the pattern. Entire cities, megastructures, and technological hubs were erased not gradually, but in a systematic fashion. It's as if the planet itself, or whatever controlled it, was purged intentionally." Celine studied the holographic projections, her mind analyzing the vast scale of destruction. Cities that had once been thriving metropolises now existed only as hollow shells. Transportation grids, power stations, libraries, and communications arrays had been dismantled to the point of near complete erasure. Roads and highways had become overgrown, some torn apart by tectonic activity, others scoured by forces she could not yet identify. And yet, scattered beneath the surface, arrays of incredible complexity hinted at attempts to preserve, if not life itself, then the potential for life. "This isn't just natural extinction," she said finally, her voice a mixture of awe and anger. "Time didn't erase this. Something beyond our understanding caused it. And whatever it was, it succeeded. Every life form, every trace of civilization gone." For hours, the exploration teams descended further into underground vaults, data repositories, and buried infrastructure. Automated AI units sifted through fractured digital archives, reconstructing partial knowledge of past civilizations. Fragments of literature, art, scientific data, and even genetic records surfaced, though most were indecipherable after millennia of neglect. Ancient AI cores, designed to maintain the planet's biosphere, still hummed faintly, sporadically activating before shutting down again. It was as though the planet itself had fought a losing battle against inevitable collapse, leaving only faint traces of its defenses for Celine's fleet to find. "Everywhere we look," Taran muttered, "we find the fingerprints of intelligence trying to survive extinction." Energy shields, automated terraforming units, biogenic replicators, they were all designed to save life. But they didn't. Celine's mind raced. The implications were staggering. Humanity had left Earth and survived. They had endured threats across the galaxy, hostile, alien civilizations, environmental disasters, and cosmic hazards. And yet, had humanity remained? They might have been wiped out in a single stroke of planetary-scale disaster. The thought made her shiver, but she suppressed it. Humanity had not stayed. They had learned. They had adapted. They had survived. And now, standing on the surface of a dead cradle, Celine realized the full weight of the human story. Life, civilization, and culture could be extinguished in a heartbeat. Entire worlds could vanish, leaving nothing behind but silence. The galaxy was not kind. The universe was indifferent. And yet, humanity endured not because the universe favored them, but because they were relentless, resourceful, and unyielding. Celine activated the fleet-wide comm channel. "This is Admiral Celine Varric," she announced. Her voice was firm, carrying across orbit and planetary surface alike. "We have returned to our origin. Earth is empty. Nothing survived to welcome us, but we endure. Humanity will remember. Humanity will rebuild. And we will honor this cradle, no matter how long it has slept in silence." In that silence, as the fleet prepared to deploy advanced systems to assess and preserve what could be saved, Celine felt the pulse of human ingenuity, human persistence, and human resilience. It was a quiet heartbeat amid a dead world, a signal that though time and catastrophe could erase civilizations, they could not erase humanity itself. And in that heartbeat, she heard the promise of the future, the return of life, the restoration of civilization, and the affirmation of what humans had always proven against extinction, against cosmic indifference, against time itself. Humanity always endured. The void remained indifferent, the stars cold and silent, and yet humanity had returned. And this time, Earth would not be left to die alone. The sun dipped lower across the horizon, painting the dead landscapes of Earth in hues of orange and violet, and the desolation felt absolute. Yet, even in the profound silence, the human explorers pressed on. Every step they took across the shattered remnants of once great cities told a story of the past of ingenuity, ambition, and an untold catastrophe that had swept away all traces of life. Subterranean scans revealed layers of sophistication that defied immediate comprehension. Beneath the collapsed streets of what was once New York, beneath the overgrown avenues of what had been Paris, lay labyrinths of tunnels, vast chambers, and immense energy conduits. These structures were not merely functional. They were designed with precision and intention that suggested a civilization attempting to defy entropy itself. Some arrays appeared to be planetary stabilizers, maintaining environmental equilibrium. Others were biological reserves containing genetic material of plants, animals, and humans alike, encoded into self-preserving nanostructures. Chief Engineer Taran crouched beside a fractured panel of energy conduits, scanning the faint pulse of residual power that survived millennia of decay. "Look at this," he said, voice low and reverent. "These arrays, they were designed to preserve life on a massive scale. Entire species, maybe even ecosystems, could have been safeguarded here. But they failed, or perhaps someone ensured they would fail." Dr. Ilana Sorin, historian and xenopsychologist, hovered beside him, her eyes wide behind the visor of her augmented reality display. "It's almost unimaginable," she said. "They weren't just building cities and machines. They were building legacies, mechanisms to outlast time itself. And yet the outcome is the same. Extinction, obliteration. 1,000,000 years, and this cradle of humanity is empty." Celine's mind raced as she surveyed the findings. Humanity had spread across the stars, mastered interstellar travel, and colonized distant worlds, yet they had returned to witness the fragility of their origins. Earth had been a testament to human brilliance, a planet rich in life and culture, now reduced to ruins and hollowed arrays of failed preservation technology. It was a stark reminder of the universe's indifference and the relentless march of time. The team descended further into the subterranean vaults, entering chambers that had once housed the apex of human technology. The air, though breathable through their suits, carried a musty scent of decay and disuse. Holographic interfaces flickered to life sporadically, displaying fragmented data of planetary climate models, urban simulations, and biological reserves. Every record they recovered was incomplete, yet the fragments painted a picture of a civilization that had once aspired to conquer time itself. Among the discoveries were massive AI cores, their processors still partially functional despite the eons. These cores had been designed to manage ecosystems, regulate climate, and maintain life-supporting systems across the planet. Yet here they were, mostly dormant, their directives unfulfilled, waiting for the species they were meant to protect to return. It was a silent indictment of the planet's fall, a mechanical witness to extinction. Taran's fingers hovered over a console, activating a deep-sea drone that had been stored in a long-abandoned ocean research facility. The drone descended into the depths, its sensors probing the abyssal plains. Even here, the evidence of destruction was overwhelming. Great reefs, once bustling with marine life, had been reduced to skeletal frameworks. Hydrothermal vents that should have been alive with chemosynthetic organisms were silent. The oceans, which had once teemed with diversity, now held only traces of decayed DNA and mineralized skeletons. Celine listened to the reports with a mixture of awe and sorrow. Every ecosystem, terrestrial and marine, terrestrial and aerial, had been systematically erased. Even the most resilient life forms, microbes that could survive in the most extreme environments, were gone. The silence was almost absolute, broken only by the soft hum of human technology as the teams deployed nanoscanners, drones, and AI assistants to search for anything left behind. And yet, even in this emptiness, there were signs of intention. Genetic archives preserved in crystalline matrices hinted at an understanding of life so advanced it bordered on divine. Seeds, spores, DNA codices intended to resurrect extinct species were embedded deep within subterranean vaults. Energy fields and automated terraforming units suggested that Earth had once been a planet prepared for an emergency recovery, a contingency against disaster. But those systems had failed, or perhaps had been sabotaged. Dr. Soren's voice trembled as she addressed Celine. It's not just extinction. It's a warning. Whoever or whatever caused this, they ensured that Earth's legacy would not survive intact. Even these preservation systems, they were neutralized. There's intelligence behind this, not random decay, not natural collapse, deliberate erasure. Celine's mind was heavy with the implications. The universe had always been dangerous, indifferent to life. But this level of precision, this scale of eradication, it spoke of an intelligence capable of observing and acting on a planetary scale. A predator, perhaps, or a cosmic rival who had deemed humanity or life itself an expendable variable. Yet humanity had endured. 1,000,000 years of exile had hardened their resolve, sharpened their ingenuity, and expanded their reach. Earth might be empty now, but humanity was alive in the stars, ready to confront whatever forces had claimed their cradle. "We've seen enough to know the truth," Celine said finally, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the subterranean facility. "Earth's silence is not the end. It is a challenge. Humanity has returned, not to mourn what has been lost, but to learn from it, to rebuild, to endure. Nothing that has ever existed can stop us when we refuse to be erased." As her teams moved deeper into the ruins, scanning, cataloging, and securing fragments of knowledge, Celine felt a pulse, a quiet, unwavering affirmation of human resilience. The archives, the AI cores, the genetic matrices, all were witnesses to a species that had once arisen from this world and would rise again, no matter the cost. The echoes of extinction were loud, but the heartbeat of humanity was louder. Above the surface, the fleet waited. Orbital platforms deployed energy shields and terraforming satellites, preparing for the next phase of their mission. Humanity would not simply observe their cradle, they would reclaim it. The silence of time was profound, but it could not withstand the determination of a species that had mastered the stars. Celine looked out at the barren landscapes below, at the skeletal remains of civilization, and spoke across the fleet's comms. "We have returned. We see the silence. We understand the magnitude of what has been lost. But humanity is not defined by the cradle we once called home. We endure, we adapt, and we will reclaim this world, not merely for ourselves, but for every life that once thrived here. Earth may have forgotten us, but we have not forgotten it." And in that moment, as the fleets deployed drones into the oceans, forests, and subterranean vaults, Celine understood something fundamental. Extinction could take a planet, could erase a species from its surface, but it could never erase the essence of humanity itself. The mission was no longer about discovery alone. It was about reclamation, preservation, renewal. The pulse of human ingenuity thrummed beneath the surface of a dead world, and for the first time in a million years, Earth felt the stirrings of life once more, not yet in the streets, not yet in the forests, but in the mind, will, and resolve of a species that refused to vanish. The first signs of hope came not from the surface, but from deep below. Humanity's engineers, biologists, and AI specialists worked tirelessly in subterranean vaults and abandoned research facilities, their augmented reality visors illuminating the darkness with streams of blue and green data overlays. Every measurement, every reconstruction, and every scan was a small victory against the pervasive silence of Earth. It was not enough to mourn what had been lost. The Terran diaspora had returned to claim this planet, and they would not leave it empty. Chief Engineer Tauren knelt beside a dormant terraforming array, its sleek surfaces coated with centuries of dust and corrosion. The system had been designed to regulate climate and accelerate ecological restoration, but its power cores had long since decayed. Tauren's fingers danced over the console, inputting activation sequences refined over millennia of human innovation. Sparks hissed and circuits groaned, but slowly, methodically, life support systems began to stir. "Power levels stabilizing," Tauren announced, voice filled with cautious excitement. "Core fusion reactors engaging. Atmosphere analyzers online. We may be able to restart sections of the biosphere." Dr. Ilana Soren observed the process, her mind racing with possibilities. If these arrays still function in some capacity, we could jumpstart the restoration of plant life, microbial colonies, and eventually animal populations. The archives we recovered may allow us to reconstruct extinct species from DNA fragments. This is the first step in reclaiming Earth. Celine stood on a catwalk above the subterranean chambers, watching the interplay of human ingenuity and ancient technology. The contrast was striking. Systems built by her ancestors, long abandoned, now being revived by their descendants, who had survived 1,000,000 years in the cold expanse of space. It was a reminder of humanity's enduring spirit, fragile, yet indomitable, capable of surviving even when its cradle had fallen silent. Outside, the surface teams moved with meticulous precision. Shuttles and drones deployed to assess the terrain, clearing debris, stabilizing structures, and preparing the ground for the first stages of recolonization. Entire forests were seeded with engineered flora, accelerated to maturity by bioenhancers recovered from subterranean vaults. The oceans were seeded with plankton and resilient marine species, guided by autonomous drones designed to monitor and balance the delicate ecosystems. Humanity was breathing life back into a dead planet, one calculated step at a time. Yet the work was not without challenges. The ruins were riddled with unpredictable hazards, collapsed structures, residual radiation from ancient experiments, and pockets of destabilized energy. Celine's teams navigated these dangers with skill and caution, guided by advanced AI and centuries of interstellar experience. The planet was a grave, yes, but it was also a canvas for renewal. In the orbital fleet, the ship's command centers coordinated the deployment of satellites, energy shields, and climate regulators. Orbital platforms projected electromagnetic pulses to stabilize tectonic shifts and monitor atmospheric pressure. Advanced sensors scanned for hidden anomalies, remnants of past conflicts or natural catastrophes, ensuring that nothing could threaten the delicate process of planetary restoration. Admiral Lieutenant Holden reported from the orbital command deck. Initial scans indicate pockets of residual energy activity across the equatorial regions. Could be remnants of the old AI cores or environmental stabilizers left dormant. We should investigate. They may accelerate the reclamation process. Celine nodded, a plan forming in her mind. Deploy the exploration teams. Activate the cores. Integrate them with our systems and map every energy conduit. We are not here to simply observe. We are here to restore, to reclaim, to endure. The teams descended into regions that had once been bustling with life and activity. In the shadow of what had once been megacities, they found vast underground reservoirs, dormant hydroponic systems, and storage facilities filled with seeds, spores, and DNA codices. Some of the systems had remained active longer than expected, their biopreservation fields still maintaining minimal environmental integrity. Celine marveled at the foresight of humanity's ancestors, whose designs had been intended to survive time and neglect. We are standing on the work of a million-year-old civilization, Dr. Soren said quietly, her voice reverent. And now we are its heirs. We carry the knowledge, the skills, and the will to continue what was started so long ago. Celine walked among her teams, her gaze sweeping across the subterranean chambers. She could see the faint glow of bioluminescent markers, the flicker of energy fields being reactivated, and the hum of AI systems coming online after 1,000,000 years of dormancy. Humanity's heartbeat was returning to Earth, quiet at first, but growing stronger with each passing hour. Above ground, the surface was being transformed. Drones carefully seeded extinct flora across vast expanses of land, while nanobots repaired damaged soil, removed toxins, and stabilized the environment. The oceans were gradually reintroduced to life, from microbial colonies to carefully reconstructed species of fish and plankton. Humanity was not merely surviving, they were reconstructing a planet, step by step, guided by both ancient wisdom and contemporary innovation. Despite the progress, Celine knew that patience was essential. Earth had lain dormant for 1,000,000 years, and its ecosystems would not awaken overnight. Each action, each intervention, had to be precise, deliberate, and carefully monitored. Failure was not an option. The lessons of the past were etched in the planet's silence. And yet, even as they worked, Celine could sense the intangible presence of legacy, the echoes of humanity that had once thrived on this world. There were signs in the ruins of civilization, faded murals, shattered libraries, and collapsed arenas, each telling a story of life, creativity, and ancient. Humanity had returned to a dead cradle, yes, but the spirit of the species was embedded in the very fabric of the planet. Celine addressed her fleet and teams through a unified comm channel. Her voice resonated with conviction, determination, and the unmistakable pride of a species that refused to vanish. We have returned to our origin. We see the silence. We feel the weight of what was lost. But humanity endures. We will restore this world, not just for ourselves, but for all life that has been extinguished. This planet may have slept for 1,000,000 years, but it will awaken. And when it does, it will bear witness to the resilience of our species, the ingenuity of our minds, and the indomitable will of humanity. As the fleet and ground teams continued their work, the first tentative signs of life began to appear. Microscopic organisms flourished in restored soils. Engineered seeds sprouted, their growth accelerated by advanced bioenhancers. Autonomous drones monitored the atmosphere, adjusting oxygen levels and dispersing nutrients. It was a slow, painstaking process, but it marked the beginning of something extraordinary, the revival of a world that had once been lost to time. In the subterranean vaults, the AI cores began to hum in harmony with the fleet's systems. Energy conduits lit up, data streams flowed, and environmental stabilizers synchronized with orbital satellites. Humanity had returned not merely as visitors, but as caretakers, engineers, and guardians of the cradle that had given birth to their species. Celine stood at the heart of one such subterranean chamber, surrounded by glowing arrays and the hum of machinery. For the first time since returning, she felt a glimmer of hope, not just for the restoration of Earth, but for the affirmation of humanity itself. 1,000,000 years of exile had hardened the species, refined their skills, and sharpened their determination. They had survived the void, and now they were reclaiming their origin. The silence of 1,000,000 years was slowly being replaced by the quiet, persistent heartbeat of humanity's ingenuity. And in that heartbeat lay the promise of renewal, survival, and a future where Earth would once again teem with life not as it had been, but as it could become through the ingenuity and perseverance of a species that refused to be forgotten. The first tangible signs of revival reached the fleet weeks after the initial landings. From orbit, the sensors detected shifts in the planetary atmosphere. Oxygen levels, previously stagnant and uneven, began to normalize. Clouds formed in patterns, reminiscent of the pre-Exodus era, rolling across continents that had lain barren for 1,000,000 years. Oceans, once lifeless and silent, now shimmered with the telltale fluorescence of microbial colonies, each pulse of light a whisper of life returning. Celine stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, watching as the first automated bioreclaimers deployed across the surface. These massive machines, designed with adaptive AI and centuries of human engineering, moved with the precision of a clockwork army. They repaired broken terrain, filtered polluted water, and reintroduced flora adapted for resilience, accelerating the rebirth of ecosystems once thought lost. Every movement, every calculation was a testament to humanity's relentless ingenuity. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Holden, "initial climate readings are stabilizing. Temperature gradients are returning to pre-collapse norms, and atmospheric density is increasing in the northern hemisphere. The terraforming arrays are functioning beyond expected efficiency. Our ancestors' designs were remarkable, more advanced than we could have imagined." Celine nodded, her expression a mixture of pride and determination. They were building not just for their time, but for this moment. And now it is ours. Humanity did not merely survive, we endured. And now we will honor our cradle. Beneath the surface, in the subterranean vaults that had once been buried under centuries of dust and debris, the revival continued on a smaller, more intimate scale. Genetic codices that had lain dormant for 1,000,000 years began to yield results. Scientists extracted fragments of DNA from preserved matrices, reconstructing extinct species using advanced cloning technologies. Forests that had once vanished were now reseeded with plants engineered to thrive in the revived soil. Small animals, recreated from long-lost genetic templates, were released into controlled biospheres, marking the first steps of ecological restoration. Dr. Ilana Sorin moved through the biolabs with awe, monitoring the growth of seedlings, saplings, and genetically restored organisms. "It's breathtaking," she murmured. "Every cell we restore, Every organism we reintroduce is a victory against time, against extinction, against the indifference of the universe. We are not just reclaiming Earth, we are asserting humanity's mastery over life itself. On the surface, the progress was visible to the naked eye. Forests expanded like green tides across continents. Rivers began to flow with renewed vigor, and the first signs of avian life returned, guided by drones that ensured safe nesting zones and ecological balance. Humanity was not merely reviving the past, they were shaping the future, ensuring that life on Earth could thrive even under the harshest cosmic conditions. Yet, amidst these triumphs, mysteries remained. The ancient AI cores still contained incomplete data, fragments of civilization that had vanished into the silence of 1,000,000 years. Ruined libraries and data repositories hinted at knowledge lost, technologies and insights that had been beyond even human comprehension. Selene dispatched specialized teams to these sites, determined to uncover whatever secrets remained hidden beneath layers of time, decay, and deliberate erasure. In one of the deepest chambers, a particularly advanced AI unit hummed to life. Its holographic interface displayed fragmented schematics of what appeared to be a planetary defense system, long dormant. Selene studied the data with growing concern. "This isn't just preservation," she said quietly. "This system could have been used to protect Earth from external threats, or perhaps to defend against the very species that left it. Whoever designed this, they anticipated danger on a scale we're only beginning to understand." Dr. Soren's eyes widened. "You mean Earth's collapse may not have been entirely natural? There may have been an outside force involved, an intelligence that deliberately erased life." Selene's gaze hardened. "If that's the case, we have to be ready. Earth is ours to restore, but the universe will not sit idle. Humanity has survived 1,000,000 years of exile for a reason. We will defend this cradle, and we will ensure that what happened once never happens again." As the weeks turned into months, the restoration accelerated. Entire ecosystems were brought back online, supported by orbital satellites, autonomous drones, and subterranean AI arrays. Rivers flowed once more, nourished by nanobot-assisted purification systems. Forests spread across the continents, growing at a pace unimaginable without advanced genetic engineering. The oceans teemed with life, from the smallest phytoplankton to restored species of fish and crustaceans, their survival guided by drones that monitored every variable in real time. The first signs of human-built structures emerging above the surface were met with awe. Outposts and research stations rose from the ruins, designed to integrate seamlessly with the revitalized ecosystems. These hubs became centers of coordination, education, and innovation, blending ancient knowledge with the cutting-edge technologies humanity had mastered across the stars. And yet, despite these triumphs, the most profound victories were not technological, they were cultural and emotional. Humanity, scattered across distant worlds for 1,000,000 years, had returned to their origin and found a home once again. The legacy of Earth was no longer just a memory preserved in the diaspora. It was alive, tangible, and growing. The survivors felt an unspoken bond with their ancestors, a continuity of purpose that transcended time and space. Selene walked among the first restored forests, observing seedlings taking root, listening to the hum of energy stabilizers beneath her feet. It was quiet, but alive in a way that no city, no starship could replicate. Humanity had returned to its cradle, not merely to survive, but to thrive. The planet that had once been lost to time was awakening under the guidance of its children, and the heartbeat of life pulsed stronger than it had in a million years. Through it all, Selene knew that challenges would remain. Earth's ecosystems were fragile, the remnants of its civilization incomplete, and the universe beyond was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous. But humanity had faced impossible odds before. They had survived exile, war, and cosmic indifference. Now, they would reclaim their world and ensure that the cradle of their species could never again fall silent. As the first birds took flight over the restored forests and the oceans shimmered with returning life, Selene raised her voice across the fleet's unified comms. "We have returned. We have restored. We have reclaimed. Earth is alive once more, and humanity endures. Let this be a testament to our species. No matter the time, no matter the distance, no matter the silence of the universe, humanity will always return. We are resilient. We are indomitable. We are human." In the distance, the ruins of ancient cities were slowly being woven back into the tapestry of life. Nature and human ingenuity coexisted in harmony, guided by the determination, intelligence, and perseverance of a species that refused to vanish. A million years of silence had not been the end, it had been a test. Humanity had passed, and now Earth would bear witness to their return, a living monument to the indomitable spirit of a species that could never be erased. The cradle of humanity had awoken, and this time it would never fall silent again.